My name is Jari-Pekka Kaleva. I am the Managing Director of European Games Developer Federation, EGDF, and I am here today to talk to you about cultural and regulatory market access barriers for Korean game developers who are willing to enter European markets. EGDF unites 18 national games industry trade associations from 18 European countries. Through its member associations, EGDF represents more than 2,500 game developer studios that employ over 45,000 people. EU is a 23.3 billion euro game market, the third largest game market in the world. After the UK left the EU in the beginning of this year, the EU game market got significantly smaller. It's no longer challenging the leading role of China or the USA. Now it is about the same size as the Japanese markets. There are over 100 million players of all ages in Europe. Playing video games is particularly popular among younger generations. However, it is becoming more and more popular among older generations as well. Interestingly, during the pandemic, playing video games became slightly less popular among younger generations than on the year before. About 47% of European video game players are women. All in all, this means that there are about 56 million women playing video games in Europe. The average age of female players is 32 years old. 76% of European players play at least 1 hour per week. 15% play at least 1 hour per month, and 8% play at least once per year. The EU is united in diversity. There are big differences in local game cultures. Germans, for example, are well known for their taste for strategy games and simulators. Polish prefer first-person shooters, whereas role-playing games are popular in France. However, it can be said that in general, European players do not like pay to win. So, pay attention to your business model. Something that works in South Korea might be considered too aggressive in Europe. European players play less and invest less in playing games than players in South Korea. So, tailor your key performance indicators for European context. European players know their rights, so be prepared. The difficult questions about your data and consumer protection practices. There are big differences in the internet infrastructure between EU countries. In general, internet connections are slower in Europe than in South Korea. So, if you have a mobile data-hungry location-based game, keep in mind that players in some EU member states, like in Germany, for example, where data is expensive and average internet connection speeds are slower than in South Korea, might have problems accessing it. In general, especially younger generations understand English in Europe. So localization is less important than when entering South Korean markets. However, it does not mean that you should not consider doing it. So what kind of games European players play? In 2020, the most popular console games in Europe were FIFA 21, Grand Theft Auto 5, FIFA 20, Call of Duty, Black Ops, Cold War, Animal Crossing, New Horizons, and Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. On mobile side, The most popular titles were games like Among Us, Gardenscapes, Brain Test, Subway Surfers, Roblox, Brawl Stars, PUBG Mobile, Sniper 3D, Call of Duty, and State of Survival. There are also big differences in local game cultures in Europe. Italians, French, Germans, Swedes, and Finns are all culturally very different business partners. However, in general, Europeans believe less in hierarchy than South Koreans. So if you meet with a low-ranking person from an European organization, keep in mind that he or she might have surprisingly a lot decision-making power in their organization. Europeans are far less respectful in their way of communicating than South Koreans. So do not be surprised if Europeans say something that sounds blunt or even brutal. European working culture is different from the South Korean one. Europeans often have longer summer holidays and they do not work during weekends. Take this to account while planning your schedules. In particular, July and August are difficult months to reach Europeans. If you can speak English, translators might not be needed as usually Europeans speak rather good English. If you are looking for a European game developer studio to partner with, there are more than 4,800 game developer studios in Europe. Most of them are located in Poland, Spain, Sweden, Netherlands, Germany, France, and the UK. If you are looking for European publishers, there are over 200 publishers in Europe. France, in particular, might be an interesting country for you. If you are looking for highly successful European companies, Finland, Sweden, and France are generating the biggest share of the 12 billion euro industry turnover in Europe. And if you are looking for talent, there are almost 90,000 people working in the European games industry. Germany, France, and UK are the biggest talent hubs in Europe. Like anywhere on Earth, it is important to follow local rules and regulations while entering new market areas. In Europe, you should pay in particular attention to, first of all, data protection. Although European Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, is close to Korean PIAPA, the GDPR has more robust individual rights than PEPA. In general, it is highly important to know if you have European players, to know where their data is stored and transferred, to minimize your data and use and to be as transparent as possible about your use of personal data. It's also important to have specific privacy policy for the EU. Please note that after Brexit, UK and EU privacy practices are starting step by step to diverge. UK practices are becoming even more strict than the EU ones. Secondly, pay attention to consumer protection rules. Unfortunately, consumer protection rules are not as harmonized on EU level as data protection rules. It is good to have specific terms and conditions for EU markets. Furthermore, remember that you should not use word free if people can use money inside your game. So instead of saying free to play, you might want to consider saying free to download. Furthermore, all public statements you are making about your game are considered to be promises under European law. So be careful while creating hype around your game, or at least correct your statements publicly before publishing the game to markets. Thirdly, pay attention to the protection of minors rules. Similar to Korean GRAC, also Europe has its own age rating systems for video games. While almost all countries in Europe use PEGI system, Germans have their own system called the USK. In the end, in the digital distribution, everyone is using IARC system that combines these systems globally. Keep in mind that using IARC system might secure your compliance with PEGI age ratings, but it does not secure your compliance with PEGI Code of Conduct. Thank you so much. If you have further questions, please do not hesitate to contact me.